Be the right club. Be the right club today.
Johnny, that's better than most.
How about in?
That is better than most. Better than most.
Expect anything different?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast / live show. Solly here, ready to talk KPMG Women's PGA and Travelers Championship. TC is here. Hello, Mr. Tron Carter.
Greetings. Mule season is upon us.
Mule season is upon us. Didn't get any Ludwig updates in the chat today. I just realized that as we go through the Travelers, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Listen, we saw his floor. It was
I'm sure we'll get there. Big Randy is here. He is thrilled with everything that went on at the KPMG Women's PGA today. He loves the direction of women's golf and how it's being presented on television and how it's the future of being a golf fan. Hello, Big Randy. How are you?
Hello. Happy to be here. Turned out to be a nice KPMG tournament. I got some thoughts otherwise. Can't wait to get it into them. Sorry.
Summertime is officially here, and it is High Noon SCN. It also means the limited edition High Noon Pool Pack is back. It has peach, it has lime, and the two limited edition flavors, guava and kiwi. I've already told you about 50 times that guava and kiwi are my favorite. Been sleeping a little bit on the peach in terms of how I've talked about it on this show. It's fantastic. The lime is my fourth favorite, but it's perfect if you want exactly one High Noon. When I get going on the guava or the kiwis, I want to have multiple, but if you want one, lime is it. That is it. It's clean, it's crisp, it's really nice. It is only available this summer, so get it while you can. You can look for it on Drizzly or wherever you buy High Noon, and to find it near you, you can visit highnoonspirits.com. Again, it's a limited edition 8-pack with 2 lime, 2 guava, 2 kiwi, and 2 peach cans. It is my absolute favorite. It's right there in Publix when it greets me. If I didn't have cases and cases of it in my garage, I would be shopping there very frequently for it. So we appreciate High Noon's sponsorship of the show and our live shows all year long. Randy, Runing Yin has won the KPMG Women's PGA. She is out from underneath the rule of her, very, 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 very strict landlord, Janet Lynn, ZU Lynn, however you would like to call her. And she has won a major championship at the age of 20. What's your reaction to what we witnessed today?
I think first and foremost, this is a win for the renters. Hand up. I know you guys certainly aren't renters anymore. You're living the C-suite life. You're big shots, but today reminded people, sometimes the little man, the little woman can rise up and overcome the capitalistic landlord overlords. And so I congratulate Runing Yin. In all sincerity, it was a hell of a performance. Bogey free today. We'll get into it, but 37 consecutive greens in regulation to close the tournament for her. I'm guessing she's not a name a lot of people know. I mean, certainly the LPGA diehards. The point
Which,
I want
up here, we did an hour and a half long preview, and I don't think we mentioned her name. So that's on us as well here.
For sure. And that's only the fault of ours. That's no fault of hers. What I was getting ready to say is she's 20 years old. She's the same age as Rose Zhang, Ataya Titicum. She won earlier this year on the LPGA Tour, has been playing very well, and now has a major championship. I think, as everybody saw, tons of game, very worthy winner. I think it's another young, talented golfer that we're seeing emerge on the LPGA Tour, which is fantastic for the future of the game.
Solly, I think, is 20 young? Can we confirm that?
I think we have to ask that question. I think I would still consider that to be quite young. Yes, it just you never know how long these runs are going to last for players, and maybe it shouldn't have taken me until Sunday, and that may be a coverage take for me to look up at the screen and be like, holy shit, what a golf swing. What a move. Incredible, lack of effort of getting that the club face through the zone. Really great divot taker, which you know me, I love and always respect somebody that takes really nice pelts. She hit, as Justin Ray pointed out, and as you said, Randy, 37 straight greens to close out a major championship on a big test. Baltusrol, I think at one point was playing longer than TPC River Highlands was this week, which is sick. And we can talk a little bit about that, but really, really tough test of golf. I really like the flow of the tournament. Tough. And then towards the end, there was a chance to make runs today, and we saw a lot of runs happen. We got an exciting finish, a lot happening, maybe too much happening for the lack of cameras that they had out there, and a little bit of confusion what was going on very much near the end. But overall, really good tournament. They got a little done dirty with the weather and kind of sucked a little bit of the crowd energy out of it by the end of it, unfortunately. But it nonetheless, it was a really good golf tournament.
Yeah, Yin's got starting to bank some serious wins on good courses. I'll suspend my Baltusrol bit. I thought Baltusrol played great, but won at Wilshire earlier this year, and like very, very impressive duel.
Wasn't she the one? Didn't she win at Palos Verdes? She won at Palos Verdes, and I don't blame you for getting confused there, TC, because they flipped the course. They flipped because Wilshire hosted a different tournament this year. It is confusing.
Yeah. Actually, so Palos Verdes was probably more similar
course.
to Baltusrol as far as like the actual, like you had to drive the ball well, you had to do all that.
TC, she finished tied for 4th at Wilshire.
There we go. Wilshire, not Wilshire.
Wilshire is my local Denver muni that I like. Shout out Mr.
TC's
Ross.
Try to keep his name in the running for memberships out there after flaming the LACC members last weekend. He's got to keep his options open. But
no, just a couple of more notes on Runen Yin. As Justin Ray pointed out, he's spearheading this KPMG Performance Insights stuff. Runen Yin came into this week far and away the leader in shots gained tee to green on the LPGA Tour at 2.64 per round. The next closest, Jin Young Ko at 1.95. And then shots gained approach, she leading the tour coming into this week at 1.71. Next closest, Jin Young Ko at 1.4. The relative weaknesses of her game had been putting. She was negative 1.07 shots gained putting per round, which is not great, and just kind of right at like neutral, 0 shots gained around the green. So I think where she excelled, obviously hit the ball excellent, excellent iron play, approach play, and made enough putts or avoided enough 3 putts to take it home this weekend.
I'll say too, the final little 3-hole stretch at Baltusrol, it banged a little bit. That was a really intriguing stretch. Really tough par 3. Good left pin today. It was interesting to watch players try to go after it. Yuka Sasso got bit by it, missed too far left. Rose Zhang got bit by it, missed too far left. And then the back-to-back par 5 finish with the Sahara Desert on the 17th hole, unreachable, but a really fun front pin. And it was interesting to watch players attack that one. And no one seemed to be able to make any putts on that pin up front. And then 18 with the tee up in the proper spot. Risk reward off the tee a little bit in terms of you drive it closer. I don't know if you needed to drive it close to the water, but a lot of water balls off the tee is always an interesting element. Ziyu Lin ended up finishing at 602 shots back, drove it in the water off the tee on the 72nd hole. And then watching Runen Yin miss the fairway on the right in the rough and then laid up from 100 yards, hit a great wedge shot to 10 feet. And I don't know if they quite delivered on the moment that putt was to win a major, but then calmly rolled in a 10-footer in the middle of the cup to win the major championship.
Which shout out to our girl LC, Lauren Coughlin, refused to give Runen Yin the read on that putt. She kind of misread it. I don't know if she hit like a little cut putt, but she was not gonna give her an easy read on that last one.
Did they set it up a lot easier today? Like I couldn't quite put my finger on it, and maybe it was just because the conditions were, a little bit less spicy with the delay and all that. But like there were a lot more low scores out there than there were yesterday or Friday for that matter.
For sure, a lot more low scores. 264s. Carlota Saganda, who honestly has to be kicking herself a little bit. I mean, she had it to 6 under for the tournament with 5 holes to play, including both of those par 5s, but couldn't make any birdies. Perrine Delacour also shot a 64. TC, I think it must be some combination of probably a little easier setup combined with, just more moisture maybe. I was thinking the same thing, but then it's like you look at Jin Young Ko, who went backwards.
Yeah.
Leona Maguire, really that whole final group was struggling. So
guys, yardage was the same. It was 65-33, which again, it was not playing longer than River Highlands, which I was Somebody sent me a screenshot that may have been not very accurate, so I apologize for that misinformation earlier. But yeah, 65-33, which is, I mean, they never played it outside of 6,500 yards the entire week. They never moved around. They moved around a little bit of stuff, but almost none of the. No, look at the yardages day by day. That doesn't look like they moved around a single tee box all week. Which, yeah, I'm guessing maybe a little more accessible pins, a little more funnel adjacent pins today, but in reality, it was just a little softer golf course, and they could get after it a little bit today.
I was expecting a little bit more fireworks on the back-to-back closing par fives this week.
I was too. Right? That's maybe my one complaint was 17 was just a 3-shotter, which is fine. I would have liked to have seen 18 a bit more. Hey, with 2 really good shots, you can have a good eagle look. I think there was 1 eagle on 18 today. Lynn Grant, I saw. I
mean, proper player though.
Yeah.
From a bomb to a hell of a putt. I will say this for 17 and 18 being back-to-back par fives, like 17 today playing 532, 18 playing 500 wet. Like you're not getting on 18, you're not getting any balls to like feed up from the green. They're all hitting 3 woods in. Like it just doesn't really set up for that.
Which is funny because you saw Yuka Sasso on 18. Oh my God. I assume it was maybe 3 wood that she hit in, but it's a good thing the bunker caught that because that thing was going to be 20 yards long of the green. She was the only person I saw that was anywhere close to being able to fly it hole high, which was
Rose. After Rose's drop, I mean, she flew it. She didn't fly it, but it ended up behind the green. Tried to hit a decent chip to get out there and try to salvage it, but they were the only 2. Lynn's putt was absolutely incredible. I know, like the cameras don't do it justice, but that green is severely canted on the left-hand side, feeding all the way down to like the back right. And it's cool in that the front area is super firm because you can get it to run and chase all the way back up to that right corner. But with the amount of water that they had, it just wasn't going to happen.
I liked how it played, Randy. It was not a gimme. Everyone can get there. It took a really well-executed tee shot and a well-executed second shot. And it was birdie was an earned score on 18 today. There was not like it was a feast. I kind of thought at one point, I thought Rose needed to get to 9 to win it, and that would have won by 1. I thought more people would have gotten to 8, but it was not handing out birdies like it was not a free crack giveaway. Yuka Sasso snuck up on everybody, especially the production crew in this golf tournament.
Snuck up on the production crew.
And I was stunned that she almost won this golf tournament, but had an awesome up and down from the left bunker, from the long bunker shot, probably a 40-yard bunker shot down the hill to this slippery, slidey little pin. Needed to get it up and down to maybe get into a playoff and did it. But Rooney Yin just came through in the end.
It's a shame we don't have Neil here. Neil's won a couple member guests at the Straw.
Neil has a plaque out there somewhere, I think. Him and Mr. Nicholas. So I agree. I think beginning of the day, I would have said I love how they've set up 17, 18 specifically. I think once we got to the back 9 and seeing so many people kind of around the lead within a shot or 2, I kept being like, oh, damn, it'd be really cool if Eagle was really a possibility on 18, but no way to know that. I think overall impressions, though, I like you, I really like Baltusrol. I thought it was a great test. I think, again, banging on this drum, playing these courses that are part of the American golf landscape and hold such a lofty place. It's wonderful that the women are getting there and playing. I think it was a course that there was such a fine line between being confident and aggressive and like playing offense versus getting a little bit on your back foot, starting to be defensive, and then, almost putting to avoid 3 putts. I thought that was kind of the dynamic at play all week. And it was just curious to see players going from one to the other. And, Leona Maguire looked like a totally different golfer today. I mean, she showed a little bits of signs yesterday on the back 9, but man, I'm guessing she was both out of gas and just could not get it going. But it looked like she was playing with no confidence from the get-go.
Jarring.
And she ended up at T8 and not that close to winning it, 3 shots back. But the Rose Zhang run today was very real. I'm skipping down the leaderboard a little bit here, TC, to say it was a very serious buzz that was going on in watching her make a run. She goes out in 31, flips over, birdies the 11th hole, almost birdies 12, a long par 3, hits a absolute seed to the back left pin that just rolled past. Didn't birdie there. Had a sloppy bogey on 13, which set her back. Turns right around and birdies 14. Had a good look on 15, couldn't cash it. And then the bogey on 16 really kind of sank her hopes there. And had a good look again for birdie on 17, just missed it a little bit low. Hit it in the water off the tee on 18, but was able to scramble and make par after taking a drop. So she did have her chances, man. She could have easily got it to 8 under, especially with those 2 par 5s coming in.
I know. Don't you think it was that putt on 15? Like if that goes, I think I wonder if she hit the shot she wanted to hit on 16. She missed left of that green, short-sided herself in that bunker. But I'm just curious if not getting the birdie on 15, she felt like she had to go at the flag to get to, again, we were all saying like 8 under, probably playoff, but maybe you got to get to 9. I just felt like, man, missing that putt on 15 was, in hindsight, kind of what did her in.
I think in hindsight too, some of the stuff from Friday, like coming in those last few holes, really sloppy double, like that's where she shot 74 on Friday. That was really where it seemed to get away. She wasn't as big, like as big a part of the tournament as you would have expected going into Saturday.
She's going to post a lot of yellow Wikipedia. She's going to have a lot of yellow Wikipedia squares in her career. She's going to be in around a lot of these. Like, I don't know if she's going to win 13. I don't know if the projection changed. I don't know if Neil wants to change his over under down to 12 now that she did. I don't know if he was cashing this one.
Clock's ticking.
Yeah, counting this one, but I don't know. We'll be waiting to see, but she's going to be around a lot of these. I don't think her odds are going to be much longer than they were. She was 20-1 coming into this week. I think those days are over. I think that's long gone already.
Are you guys gonna call some people out for their backdoor top 10s this week? I mean, you seem to love doing that with Tommy. So
let's
love doing that. That's the whole thing. Like, you hate the backdoor top 10s and you flipped it on Tommy. Like, don't put this on us.
A backdoor top 5 for Tommy.
We're trying to hold you to the same standards that you should be holding yourself, TC. Come on. I expect a little bit more ingenuity there.
TC, I think we gotta do it to the Swede, the big Swede, Anna Nordquist.
66-65 on the weekend. After 74-73 to start it out.
Yeah, true backdoor. And then I mean Megan Kang too. 67 on the weekend. Hell of a weekend. Finished tied for 3. It's crazy. 3 of those 4 women at T3, Saganda, Nordquist, and Kang, really came out of nowhere. You could
Randy,
say with the backdoor.
I don't know anyone that watched more of this tournament than you probably did this week. I feel like I watched a ton of it. If somebody would have asked you like today at like 3 p.m., like when they restarted the golf, did Anna Nordquist make the cut this week? What would your answer have been? I've been like, I don't know. Did she? I don't know. I don't think she did.
The only thing I knew she did, only because I knew she shot 66 yesterday.
Okay.
I didn't see a single shot of hers yesterday, and I think I saw a few putts of hers today. But yeah, point taken. She was nowhere in the broadcast, really.
Like, I'm thinking about Megan Kang, and I'm wondering like if she gets done with the round of golf and it's like, man, I made an incredible run. Like, I can't wait to go back and like watch this on TV and just be like, her family be like, yeah, they showed a couple putts. Like, those they went in. Good job. Like, really good job. Like, they almost had a winner sneak up on them. I don't know if we want to start Amsterdam just now, but they almost had a winner completely sneak up on them.
We also had that 3-wood on 18, and she'll be able to live that one. It wasn't the worst worst 3-wood that we saw today. Sorry, Steph Meadow. But Megan's 3-wood was right up there with it.
Megan's gonna win one of these things soon. Like, I'm gonna keep. It's shocking to me that she hasn't yet. And I know Solid. She's 25. I know she's not young by any means.
Can you not? Can you not tonight?
But like, that's back-to-back top 10s and majors, and like played well in 2 or 3 of them last year as well. So,
well, I'm going to give you a chance to go down the leaderboard here shortly, and we're going to talk, of course, some PGA Tour golf here. But it's worth pointing out the week in and week out on the PGA Tour, the most popular driver among the best players in the world is a Titleist. The Tour's favorite model is the TSR3, and while that may be true, the key to greater speed and accuracy looks different for every player. So whether you need to improve your spin control, your launch angle, impact point, all that stuff works together, right? This is definitely not something you should be self-diagnosing or trying to figure out on your own. I would consider myself a pretty relatively advanced level golfer, and I have no business even setting whatever settings I would be setting on my own club. Like I don't change the setting on my club without consulting somebody or having some data in front of me to do it. It really is that specific, and it really will make that big of a difference. The combination, and as I should have mentioned, a Titleist fitter can configure your TSR driver that delivers exactly what you need. The combination of Titleist's unique sure fit system and 4 head designs from TSR1 all the way to TSR4 means you'll be stepping up to the tee with a driver custom tuned to your swing, as TC likes to say. After your TSR fitting, you'll feel like you're playing offense. I don't know if you have anything to add there.
I played yesterday. I feel like I kind of validated. I've raised my floor.
Yes.
I shot 72 yesterday with a double, like in the pouring rain on a easy par 5, and then 3 birdies coming in, and I'm like,
What's
you know
the
what? Like,
index?
I'm
What's the
not
index at?
afraid to go low anymore, guys. 1.7.
Wow.
Oh, yes. I'm going to be getting pops from TC here soon. I also played my 3rd round of golf in 8 weeks yesterday, and I hit 13 of 14 fairways. So I found a little something. Straight left arm is very key.
What are you at right now?
I'm a 1. I was a 1.9. I don't know what I went down to today. So you can head to Titleist.com to find a Titleist fitter near you. And I will turn it over to you, TC, to go down the leaderboard as far as you'd like to go. No, that's not true.
No.
You can go down the leaderboard a little bit here. Any other performances you want to shout out specifically?
Ayaka Furue.
Footaway.
Did I say it
No,
correctly?
no, you did not.
I didn't.
Footaway.
Think
Food
about
away.
putting the food away.
Furue.
Nope. That's even worse.
Food away.
Footaway.
Furue.
All right, that's closer.
That's a little
all
better.
right. All right. 69, 66 on the weekend. T8. Guys, we got to talk about Jenny Shin's pre-shot routine. She was also there at T8. That kind of took over most of the commercial-free last 54 minutes. And, I mean, it was brutal.
I hate. Let me just say something nice about Jenny. Really enjoyed her overall. Just enjoyed what she had
seems
going on.
delightful. Yeah.
Yes. Great attitude. Enjoyed. I mean, good swing. Enjoyed watching her play golf. But it's one of those things. It's like once you see something, you can't unsee it. Once you hear something, you can't unhear it. And once I kind of got sucked into her pre-shot routine, it started to annoy me a little bit.
Like, do you know how hard it is to get put on the clock when you're in contention on the final round of a major?
Yeah. I wonder how much that plays. That final group just had
She knows that
absolutely
too.
no juice.
Yeah, she was struggling, grinding out there. Didn't really do anything outside of the birdie to start out a round, but reached out for comment. Of course, she knows this. She knows that this is an issue. She's trying to work on it. But man, it was really bad because forever watching her round, it felt like one putt's gonna drop and then she's gonna be right back in this.
Yeah.
Obviously, the bogey on 15 took her out of it, but man, she played really, really good golf. She should not be taking that long though. It's fucking painful.
Truly.
That final 3-ball combined for 4 birdies. That's tough.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in Leona. We don't need to talk about Perrine Delacour's final round 64. Didn't get her in the top 10. T11 there.
This
Leona
sucks. Let me.
just
Yeah, sorry.
shocked
Go
me.
ahead, TC.
Yeah. Oh, I was shocked. I hold Leona up as a killer.
Yes.
That's how I view her because of her Solheim Cup performance and all of that. I've seen her kill up close.
And how she carries herself too.
Yeah.
She had a
And
different look on her face by the end of today. I mean, I know getting beat down a little bit will do that to you, but it was not the same stride in her step. And I know she won last week, and fatigue was probably a factor, and cited often on the broadcast. I don't disagree with that. That's part of the reason why I picked her not to win this week was it's tough to go back to back. That's a lot of emotional energy spent last week rolling into this and holding the lead for so long this week. I honestly wasn't that surprised. And I don't mean that as a slight to her at all. I think that's just a big ask.
it's also got to be exhausting, when the weather sucks and you don't know what time you're going out, and
Yeah.
you're getting delayed and you're going out earlier than expected and all that. I'd be remiss if we didn't shout out Stephanie Meadow as well. She stuck around and finished T3. I mean, very good week.
Mentioned it in passing. She had a chance. She needed to eagle the 18th hole to get into a playoff and hit the fairway on 18. And cold topped it on top of the water, did not go into the water, skipped off the water and cleared the pond,
Which was sick.
which was sick.
Like
It
a
was-
good 5 skipper. It was pretty fucking awesome.
I'm guessing she had to absolutely nuke a 3-wood to get there and just decide I'm going to go for it, whatever, which I will support it. We're not making fun of it. But
Well,
it was
which
sick.
call back to Albane Valenzuela at the Chevron
Yep.
in a somewhat similar position, more carryover water, but Albane laid up, took her nice top 5 finish. Stephanie was going for it, so I respect that.
I want to shout out Grace Kim. She's playing really, really good golf this season, and on the heels of her win in Hawaii at the Lotte, 14th, cleared $147,000. Like, that's a big check.
$10 million
Big
bucks
league.
this week.
Yeah.
Shout out to KPMG continuing to just keep one-upping themselves in terms of, I don't know what their competition is for this purse. It's the other majors, but they're just continuing to top everyone else in supporting women's golf, buying extra TV hours, which we'll get into and all that. But yeah. Shout out to KPMG for that, because the next name I think you're probably going to get to is Lauren Coughlin, who made $125K for her T15.
Listen, I wasn't. You know what? I was going to shout out Brooke Henderson first. I was going to shout out Allison Corpuz, and then
Okay, now you're just literally reading names on there. We got to pick out some names here.
TC, good week or disappointing week for Brooke?
disappointing week. I mean, she shot 67. She was the first round leader. Like,
Yeah.
and then backed up with a 74 on Friday. So, strong finish. But I think part of what we talked about a couple weeks ago with Brooke, though, is like you want to see how higher floor out of her, right? And I think a T15 in a major is, I'm not begrudging that. I think that's progress.
I'd almost argue she has the floor. I have concerns about the top end, and I know that's silly. She's won 2 majors, yada yada yada. But I don't know. She doesn't quite do it for me. She doesn't instill confidence that she's
Do
going.
you have more confidence in Nelly or Brooke?
That's a good question. Probably Nelly. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely Nelly.
I'd like to congratulate Lauren for not once but twice making it into the 6 figures of pay within from KPMG, something in 9 years that I failed to do even once. So I want to congratulate her for cleaning up at this championship for back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, 125K and really hung tough today. I think you bogeyed the first hole, birdied the second. I was texting with her earlier. She's like, yeah, like that rain delay was a big asset for me. Like that allowed me to really, be able to kind of go in, hit the reset button and, do better. So, proud of her for sticking around and shooting 72 when it looked like it could have been a 76 today. So
I'd say on our Friday show, we put, I think almost everyone picked either Jin Young Ko or Minjee Lee to win this championship, and they both finished in a tie for 20th. Minjee went 75-69. Jin Young went 69-73 on the weekend and vacated the premises, which makes the performances at the very top stand out a little bit more, just knowing that the 2 players of that caliber absolutely did not get it done this weekend.
Hitters,
Kim.
yeah, hold on. I was going to say hitters only at T20.
Yeah.
Hujo Kim, Lynn Grant, Minjee Lee, Jin Young Ko. Ballers.
Guys, I don't think I'm quite ready to officially announce this, but look for it at the conclusion of U.S. Open week if need be.
Uh-oh. Who are you putting on notice?
Jin Young Ko.
Fuck yeah, Randy.
So
Let's go.
disappointing
TC
today.
called her back in the preview. I said, that's disrespectful to Jin Young Ko.
So disappointing when seemingly everybody's making a move for the world number 1 to go backwards. I can't have it. I can't stand by and watch that. She hasn't won a major since 2019. She's on notice. She's on notice through the end of 2023.
All right.
And also, she has the 2 kind of fake majors. She's won the Chevron, which was the ANA, and the Evian. Like those
That's
count if you've won. They will all count retroactively if you've won one of
You have
the
to
3
validate
real
them, though.
majors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
Gabby Ruffles, T24. I just want to take a victory lap on that one. Tried to warn y'all.
Gabby's
T24 is coming.
Gabby's got game. Gabby reminds me of Megan Kang, where there's just something where when things get tough, I feel like she's got the
She's
type
an
of game.
athlete.
Yeah, she's an athlete. She's a grinder. I dig it.
Angel Yin kind of faded a little bit. Saturday, but closed
say
out strong.
Mel Reed, a Saturday 77, like set her like otherwise she'd have been in the hunt in this championship.
Liam Pace, she did not stick around as we had hoped.
You-
Sustainability models weren't
One more name,
loving her.
TC, and then we got to move on here, bud. Choose
there's
wisely.
so many good ones.
I know
We got a lot to get to tonight.
Tough day for Alexa Pano, T61, final round 78. I think she's someone who I'm keen to see what her career looks like. The straight from high school to Epson and LPGA Tour.
Solly, if you'll allow me, tough weekend for three of the rookies. Pano, as TC mentioned, Lucy Lee had a very tough weekend, 78-78, and Celine Borga went 74-75, which none of them surprising. Certainly Celine had never been in contention at a major like this, but yeah, tough weekend for the rookies. Hopefully they all learn from it.
Well, the main event I want to turn it over to is it's time to let Randy cook on Amsterdam, because I think you have maybe a thought or two about what has went down this past week.
I do. Let me ask you
real
guys.
Quick.
Yeah,
real quick.
PC, go ahead.
Lydia Ko, same thing going on as Jin Young Ko, has won the Evian, won the Chevron or the ANA. Does she need to validate as well?
I would totally agree with that.
I'm just throwing it out there.
It could be a Co problem. It could be anybody last name Co. You're going to be on notice at the end of this year. Yeah, I like
or
that.
Corda. Co. I mean Co.
Corda.
Co. Or Erda.
At least Nellie's won a real major. That's the defense I'll put up there.
right, Randy.
Coverage. You guys tell me if I'm off base. I had an issue with a few things. A few things upset me. The first thing that upset me was,
and if you listen to the Friday show, we're probably going to repeat some of that, but not everyone listened to our cut show probably on Friday. Just want to get that disclaimer out there. But Randy, please cook.
well, the thing that upset me today was you have the final round of a major on Peacock, which, okay, on the surface, what's the problem, Randy? Well, here's my problem, okay? They moved the tee times up even earlier today, which means less time that this tournament and the meat of the tournament is going to be on network television on NBC. So we're going to put everything on Peacock, which is a streaming service. Some people, if you have certain cable, you get it. Other people, you have to pay to access it.
And which, if I can consult the weatherman quickly here, TC, late June, what do you think? 40% chance, 40% chance when you plan this event that there's going to be weather delay of some point? Like
especially at Baltusrol. We know the history at Baltusrol.
But not an unforeseen weather delay, right? Like this is not a thing that is a rarity in golf of like moving tee times up, because that's a fallback that they're going to have of, well, we moved the tee times, blah, blah, blah. You don't understand contracts, blah, blah, blah. But please go ahead. But
also,
I just want to set that up. Like this is not an outrageous event that happened.
Let me just nut tap Peacock a little bit here too. It's one of the worst user interfaces of all time.
That's actually gotten better. I don't even. They got the collapsible window now, shorter. They've gotten it closer, I would say. That's not my beef. I'm sorry, TC. I actually have to stand up for him on that one. I'll stand up for the cop.
Agree to disagree.
Go ahead, Randy.
Okay, so this is a women's major. I'd say one of like the three quote unquote real ones. Okay, it's got cachet. It's at Baltusrol, like I said earlier in the show. A lofty national historic landmark of a golf course. We have Rose Zhang in contention. And it struck me that NBC owns a property called Golf Channel, which they've shortened to Golf, uppercase Golf, which they're yelling it at you, which we all pay for through our various cable subscriptions anyway. Okay. Randy, there must have been something fantastic on Golf Channel to preempt this women's major, arguably Sunday final round major. Again, not like people out of it teeing off. They moved the tee times up, meaning, we saw half of the leaders rounds on Peacock before the weather delay. It would have been more than that had the weather delay not come around. So we're talking about essentially the front nine for the whole tournament is on Peacock. And I'm out of curiosity, I'm like, what's on Golf Channel? It's Golf Central pregame. You got Brandel in the studio, apparently trying to explain what aim point is. I go, that's interesting. I wonder what's on NBC. Maybe it's, one of their Sunday political shows. I look up what's on NBC. It's infomercials. So the decision has been made. And granted, my frustration stems from, you'll read about occasionally they bring together, the leaders in golf, and they'll do these summits where they kind of all just pat each other on the back. And part of that are certain NBC sports executives. Saw your Aunt Molly, TC, our guy, Mayor Pete Bavacqua going to South Bend. And, they're so quick to congratulate themselves on what they're doing for the women's game. Oh my God, we are the leaders in elevating the women's game. And it just occurs to me, how could today, final round of one of your 3 best events on the calendar, how can that at least not go on Golf Channel? Like I have people who are very casual golf fans. They know the name Rose Zhang, which, listen, for women's golf to have somebody that people know their name, and for that person to conceivably be in the hunt with a shot today, people are seeking that out. They want to know what it's all about. And Peacock is just such a barrier to get casual fans into the women's game, to show off the women's game, to show off what really is like the best of the women's game. Again, today at Baltusrol, the course was great. It was a fine line between birdies and bogeys. It just is such a missed opportunity. And I'm so sick of it in light of, you'll hear people just bragging about what they're doing for the women's game. And, we've almost doubled coverage this year. Well, yeah, most of that's on Peacock though. And that, frankly, it kind of sucks. And to not at least bump Golf Channel programming this morning for the final round of a women's major, I don't know. It just pisses me off. But again, I might be off base. I'm curious if I'm crazy, if you guys feel similarly. I don't know.
It's like all decisions that it seems like when it comes to NBC, Golf Channel, and that whole family is like on a per event, cold rational basis of profit and loss for this event. No, we're not putting another camera out there, Randy. No, we're not adding another analyst out there. No, we're not having multiple crews we can rotate in for all these coverage windows. No, we're not
overtime.
Yeah, no, we're not going to actually do. Why would we? We're doing the absolute bare minimum that we're required to do. Barely even that sometimes. And that's what you're going to get because we've bought the rights. We can do whatever we want with it. Why would we do more than the absolute bare minimum of that? And that's the part that frustrates me is the hope I've lost that things are ever going to change. I remember looking at the future of the major venues for the women's events and being like, all right, we're gonna have some juice going on these things. Finally, it's time. I know we've been kind of evangelizing this stuff for about 5 years now because we're genuinely intrigued by the ladies game. And man, we got one of the biggest audiences you could possibly, we have one of the biggest audiences in golf of any media company. And it's still hard to get people fired up for the women's game because a lot of the reason being they're just a bare minimum front of the office presentation of how to watch it. Honestly, I feel a little guilty pointing people towards it at times. I felt really dumb today tweeting out I made the assumption that the commercial free final hour would have been moved up because the tee times got moved up. And I sent people there because they tweeted out the commercial free final hour is coming. I was like, okay, everyone get to NBC now because it's finally the commercial load that destroys your soul is over. And it kept going. It just kept going. And they didn't start the commercial free part until the leaders were basically on 16, maybe even 17. And the final group, I think, was on 15 at that point. And I just feel like an idiot sometimes for recommending this to people because golf is already hard enough to watch on TV. And then they just mail it in on the women's side. And I just don't see it getting any better as long as NBC has the rights.
I think that's right. A few things to react to there. Some people tweeting me Randy, there's no juice. You know, this is the final round of a major. There's no juice. And listen, were the crowds at Baltusrol great? Like, to my eyes and my ears, like, they weren't great. We had Casey on the ground, and I think the storm caused a bit of a mass exodus
They actually
during the
flew
weather
in some
delay.
of the members from LACC as well.
Yeah. So
Crisis factors.
So
say what you want about the members of LACC, but they showed up for their event. The members of Baltusrol did not.
So it starts a little bit there. You know, the crowds admittedly weren't great, which sucks. You know, I wish I had a way to fix that. Just not a ton of juice. But then it's just compounded, Solly, to your point, by what I sense is always I'm trying to think, when's the last time you've tuned into a women's broadcast and felt like real energy anywhere out of like the broadcast booth? And I hate kind of poking at Dan Hicks, and I think Morgan Pressel is good. I love Grant Boone.
Morgan's improved like drastically year
She's
over
on her
year.
way. Yeah.
Like I like the people, but man, like you said, when Runan Yin has like an 8-foot putt to win a major as a 20-year-old, that's a big moment. And it consistently, when I watch the telecast, I just never quite feel like they make the moment as big as I think it should be, and as big as it deserves to be. And that rubs me the wrong way. And then you just compound again, like I talk about, they just, I think we got like a little intro essay package maybe at one point at the start of NBC, but think about all the men's majors that they do, and think about everything that's added around the broadcast to just elevate the feel and the sense of like, this is a big event. And now think about like the lack of really all of that at a women's event, right? From, setting up the most important shots of the tournament. Like, how are you going to play this hole? Here are the factors at play. Here's what needs to be considered. Here's a close up of Runan Yin's ball in the rough off of her drive on 18. There's just none of that. And so at the end of the day, like it's just such a obviously inferior product that is being trotted out. And I just think it sucks, because I'm of the belief that if an investment was made into the women's game, and if at a minimum it was brought up to days like today, a final round major, if the presentation was on par with what we see for the men's majors, like it's good golf. It's exciting golf. People will tune in. Like I believe you can make money off of broadcasting women's golf. I just feel like NBC specifically is in this cycle where it's like, well, it's a shitty product, so not many people watch it, so therefore we're not going to invest in it.
Doom
And
loop.
it's just this doom loop that they're in, and it sucks. Like sometimes I feel like an idiot sometimes, because I want to get people into the women's game, but I'm like, it's so damn hard sometimes to be a fan of women's golf, and it just sucks, and it shouldn't be like that.
And to your point, Randy, a point we've made many, many times over the years on this is like, all right, they don't hit it as far as the men, but that's pretty much where the lack of comparisons stop, right? It is 100% not about the talent level. Like that's not what, candidly,
Yeah.
I don't turn on the WNBA. I don't watch the WNBA, right? But I don't think it does very well ratings wise. It's kind of subsidized by the NBA. I think I can understand why people don't find that an appealing product.
You're also not a big basketball guy, though. I don't know. You're not tuning in for every single NBA game. Like that's where the comparisons stop. And I think we can always go back to like tennis. And I think
that's what I was getting to. If you'll let me finish, Cody, come on, let me cook. We let Big cook here. Was like, I don't think the WNBA does great. I think it, has this subsidy, but I look at like women's tennis, and I'm like, the purse sizes are what's the winner? You pointed this out once, Randy, like the winner of the Australian Open gets like $5 million or something on the women's side. Like the interest level and the marketing, it's a marketing thing with the interest level around women's tennis, despite the fact that a lot of the top men would beat the top women in the same sport, right? The same way it would work with golf. The interest level seems to be there. And I'm not an expert in marketing, but I don't understand why golf has made almost no progress on the women's front.
I know it's not a talent issue because they televised the Little League World Series. Like, give me a fucking break. Okay.
so,
Think about the
yeah.
investment they've made in the Little League World Series. To your point about tennis, when have you ever turned on a one of the Grand Slam broadcasts of a women's tennis match and even notice like one thing different than if it would be for a men's broadcast? They're the exact same. I don't think you can say that about golf. I absolutely don't think you can say that about golf.
Right. And I think there's something too where, like, going back to product, I think in my mind, interesting stuff tends to happen in women's golf down the stretch from time to time. Like, there's more variables. There's more, like, not everything is completely optimized, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have weird shots. You're going to have that Stephanie Meadow, skipper today. Like, you're going to have, like, and that to me is interesting. What, like, the most frustrating thing for me when I tune into a golf tournament, men's or women's, is when I feel like the outcome is already figured out, right? It's like, oh yeah, like, clearly, like, he's not going to make 2 doubles coming in. It was like Keegan today. Like, there's nothing that Keegan's going to do with a 4-shot lead or whatever. Where I feel like women's wise, there's like, whether it was Hawaii this year or both the LA events, like, there's good finishes. I think the finishes are, like, really, really interesting, and they're topsy-turvy, and there's people moving all around the leaderboard. Because it's not as optimized. It's not as, like, there's more chance. There's more, and it comes back to swing speed, and that stuff is allowed to happen.
What brings, like, wondering. I've been wondering this out loud all week, is like, do we have the distance thing totally backwards? And that, like, all right, the women's game is not ruined by distance at all. Like, there is a ton of more variables, like you're mentioning, TC, yet the interest level is way lower. And like, there's probably a million other factors, and it can't be reduced to that specifically. But it's like, I don't think driving distance is the answer. That's not what I'm saying. But it's hard to, like, point and be like, all right, roll back the ball over here, guys, because it's gonna make it more like the women's game. Well, it's like, well, man, like, people aren't really paying attention here, and it just sucks.
I think on the crowd thing too, I tend to think that going to these major metropolitan areas for both men and women is, like, the wrong move. I think, especially in the women's game, like, U.S. Women's Open is going to Lancaster next year. That's going to be awesome. Going to a completely underserved golf market in the Pacific Northwest next year with KPMG going to Sahalee, right? Like, fine. Like, when the Solheim Cup was in Iowa, going to places that are starved for great professional golf, I think is something that they need to lean into, just like they need to lean into going to places that are too short for the men, to play at now.
And that's you, the golf fan, speaking, TC, and I agree with you. I think it comes down to, like, KPMG is putting up a massive check. Like, they want to go where they can go host their clients, right? The answer is almost always, like,
totally
the money. That's what's super, like, deflating. Cody,
but
teacher,
yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question real quick. Why the fuck does KPMG have to put up any money? Why? Up until in 2007, we always go back to tennis and comparing it. In 2007, the leading Grand Slam, so every Grand Slam on the tennis schedule, said we're going to have equal prize money for men and women. Why in the world does KPMG have to put up money for a PGA championship? Where is the PGA of America in all this? Why is it not equal to the men's major? Where, like, the USGA has done amazing things with the US Women's Open. All right? There's a huge purse there. And you're going to see it's going to be a completely different coverage package because of it. But, like, why? I guess what I'm saying, for both the Women's Open Championship, the PGA Championship, the Women's PGA Championship, and the US Open and the US Women's Open, like, why do the women have to go to a sponsor? They're forced to do it.
Like, USGA did that too, to be fair, with the
for sure
with the Medica thing. Yeah.
But, like, where I understand a lot of this right now falls on NBC because there's a ton of easy shit that they could do. Like, and props to Callaway and props to KPMG for buying this extra airtime. But there's normal routine things that make majors elevated outside of entry music and entry segments and essays and everything else like that. But, like, where the fuck is Live From? Even if it's not the normal Live From crew, why send somebody, have fucking Grant and Tom, like, sit there and do Live From, even if it's only 30 minutes, and have the same thing on the back end of it. Like, do something to make it feel elevated, NBC.
They tried to do that with like a Golf Central on location thing, and I'm not sure if it was just because of the weather, but like it looked like they were in a broom closet. I mean, it was shocking. That was on Thursday or Friday. I remember tuning in for that. It was kind of like where they put them during the Players.
Baltusrol is one of the largest clubhouses I've ever been in my life. Like, you're telling me that there's not a single spot that they could go?
Yeah.
But that's the little thing. And I understand they did like an hour of Golf Central pregame and everything, and that's great. But like, that's just another studio show that I can watch on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Like, do something to make it feel like that. And I would say a lot of this goes back to the PGA of America, the USGA. Like, if this is the route that we want to go, and you want to talk about like how it's, you know, we're all in this together, then the large organizations need to step up and say, here we are. We're going to do this. It will be equal on both sides. And I understand, even if you go down and look at like professional tennis, there's a huge difference between normal tour stuff. And that's where the LPGA and the PGA Tour and like their different sourcings come in. I understand that. But these are the major fucking golf championships where they're ran by the organizations that control all of golf. Like, why are we not holding their feet to the fire and asking them, like, where the fuck is the equality at here, guys? Where, I'm sorry, but like, Susie Whaley, you were the president of the PGA of America for 2 years.
Susie Whaley. Yeah.
And we want to talk about equality, and we're on board. We're the ones who are like, we're supporting this with you. We want to help. We'll volunteer our fucking services for this. But like, where is the change at?
The RNA like wasn't even involved in the Women's Open.
It wasn't a major.
Decade. Yeah. Like
they said that on the broadcast today. I was like,
shout
what?
out to Weetabix.
It's Cody, you're exactly right. And I'm sure some people are like, oh, ratings, you know. Cool. I'm sure the tennis Grand Slams, I'm sure they negotiate on behalf of both events, and that's, you know, they build in the purses through their negotiation with both events. PGA of America, why can't you do that? USGA, why can't you do that? And yes, Solly, back to the point of like, well, nobody's ever really even tried to invest in women's golf. So we don't really even know, right? It's like, oh yeah, this like shitty ass product isn't the most popular. Big shock there. Like, what if we tried to do things a little differently? But Cody, yeah,
real quick, what do you think? So 2014 U.S. Women's Open was at Pinehurst the week after the 2014 U.S. Men's Open. What do you think the rating difference was between 2013 U.S. Women's Open and 2014? I just looked this up.
Probably doubled.
92% higher drafting off the Pinehurst from the week before. Yeah. And they just like abandoned that.
Well,
like, they did a great job promoting that too, I will say. Plus, I think I made $10,000 that month or that week for renting out my house. So thank you for whatever that was.
Thank you, Cody. That was congratulations.
If I may, a little bit further, Cody, you said about like the intro essays, and I mean, we're not even talking about the lack of streaming options, right? Like, there's no way I can go on to PGA or ESPN or LPGA or Peacock and watch like a featured group all 18 holes like I can at these other majors, right? They're putting the whole broadcast on streaming, but they don't have a built out streaming platform for featured groups, featured holes, you know, on the range. There's none of that. Even the television coverage this week, you'll notice it's essentially featured groups, which if you go to the LPGA Instagram, they'll tell you what featured groups they are at the start of the week. They have just enough cameras to kind of cover, you know, 4 groups in the morning wave, 4 groups in the afternoon wave. And besides that, you're getting tower shots of a lot of people putting and a few approach shots. It's just such a scaled down, bare bones operation. It just cannot be underlined or highlighted enough, the lack of investment taking place in the women's game.
It's almost essentially a Corn Ferry Tour broadcast. Is exactly what it is.
Yeah. Guys, I think we could go hours on this, but I'm gonna say we've said what we can, and we're gonna move on from this. We have,
and I just want to say Dan Hicks double clutching when he said a commercial free final stanza instead of hour was just chef's kiss.
Thank you for that, Randy.
NBC
You
And
guys-
waiting until the tournament is
sucks.
basically already decided to do said, commercial free.
which also is like bought. Like they sold that. So Callaway bought that. Which shout out to
Right.
Callaway for supporting that. Listen, we're not supposed to
I
talk
hope
about
they
our exes on
prorate
here.
it
But yeah,
for
but,
Callaway, right?
but that's not like an NBC. Like you don't get to brag about that. Somebody paid for that. Like that's something you sold. So
That's what I don't understand. It's like I know we started with this, but they're patting themselves on their back for doing all this, but like it's not like they did anything. They made money off of it.
No, I asked somebody in the know. I was like, why is there a coverage gap the first couple days between Golf Channel and Peacock in the afternoon? They say, well, every additional hour we're on costs a huge chunk of cash. So NBC, it's not an outlay of cash for NBC. And so it's a matter of if KPMG is willing to pony up more money to buy more hours.
and shout out to all the people that will reply like, duh, it's a business, man. It's like, man, like you have some rights here as a fan. Like you have a standing here as a stakeholder to be like upset about the game kind of being held hostage, right? Like I think I don't know. It's
They suck at
probably
covering the
misleading.
game. Renounce the rights. Let other people
can't
try.
even- They announced commercial free and then they went back to commercial. Like that to me sums it all up.
Yeah.
Listen, speaking of commercials, you guys know Roback. These guys understand. These guys, they understand quality. I promise our final hour will be commercial free. There's
Our
only
final
one way
stanza.
to describe final stanza will be commercial free. Only one way to describe Roback, that is best fit, best feel. Kicking off summer, it is the perfect time to load up on the best gear that we have. The performance polos are just different. I rocked it yesterday, my USA themed stars and stripes shirt that TC whooped my ass in the LACC film room. Still my favorite shirt that I have in my closet. I love it. 4-way stretch and moisture wicking fabric. They will get you through a warm summer day on the course. The performance hoodies, I can't even keep track of which ones I wear on the live show and which ones I don't. Of course, this is a Roback hoodie that you see here. This tan one is one of my favorites. I think you guys all have this. Is this the one you beat me in, TC? I didn't even think about that. I think this is the Tanimal one.
Yeah.
They're the softest, stretchiest hoodies, and I start and end almost every day in a Roback hoodie. It's a little hot to wear them throughout the course of the day.
Solly, check out this
course.
collar. Man,
It never wavers, does it?
it's a good collar.
And lastly, the performance Q-zips are a game changer. Nothing beats rocking a Roback Q-zip for an early round of golf or an evening out on the town. You can use code NLU at roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com. 20% off polos, Q-zips, hoodies, and more with code NLU. Summer is calling. Make sure to check them out now. TC. Yeah, excuse me. You had a little Sophie's Choice going on at the Travelers here today with between Patrick Cantlay and Keegan Bradley coming down the hunt. Who are you rooting for out of those two?
I was rooting for Keegan. I mean, I was rooting for like the field to rise up, but I mean, Keegan, he wasn't gonna fritter that thing away. He's by far the lesser of two evils. I'm not a Keegan guy. I don't like watching him. He gives me anxiety. His whole, just all of it. Take it all away. That said, like the people of New England show out for this event, and it's a pretty big, like Travelers does a great job with it. I like TPC at River Highlands. It's a cool winner for them, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I can, put my objective hat on and say like, all right, like that's a good winner. And a much better winner than like Cantlay would have been.
This is way more rational than I was expecting. I did not see this coming. TC, have you gone soft on us here?
I've gone woke. He's woke. So
I only have one question for you guys. Has Keegan unpacked that suitcase from the 2012 Ryder Cup at Medina?
I hope he makes it on the Ryder Cup team because he's got to be a terrible course fit.
Why do you say
Simone,
that?
right?
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I assume you're gonna have to hit fairways and.
I think it's just like good drivers will be a course fit there. I think I might need to do a little write up on this. It's not Le Golf National. It's not like strictly driving accuracy. It is like driving distance and accuracy. It's like I need to dive into that a little bit more, but I don't think he'd be a bad course fit. But I also don't think his play is quite risen to the level of deserving a spot on the team necessarily. He's 7th in the points now. I'm totally down to like let's take stock of this as we get closer to it to see how this plays out. Because
who's not making it at this point? Like
they're choosing between a lot of good options right now. But like I don't know, his numbers don't like scream it. It's not quite like the level of rise like that Wyndham Clark has had throwing. I throw out the wins. Like I don't care really what you won. It's how good of golf are you beating dudes on a consistent basis. Keegan's like he is a candidate for one of the bottom spots, I would say, but it does not rise to the top of that with that performance this week. Because again, the golf course they're going to play is very different than this one. I mean, it's all about rough, and this was I don't know what the hell happened at River Highlands this week, but man, it was just an all-out onslaught, and it was honestly tough to follow and watch, tough to get hyped for, just watching dudes sprint out that hard.
It's tough to square like that TV, like just watching that on TV and having been to this tournament a couple times. Like I like this golf course. I like
I think I do too.
It's like the anti-TPC course. It's like an old classic golf course, and there's some really interesting, fun shots down the stretch. There's some stuff that probably needs to be touched up at this point, and they could probably add some yardage in spots, but it's just so depressing when you see like dudes hitting lob wedge into 18, which is like used to be one of the better finishing holes on tour. It just kind of dumbs things down a little bit.
This felt a little bit to me, I forget what year it was, maybe like 2011, the Waste Management. What was the year that Phil shot 59 and a half, lipped out, and he went out and shot like 30 under par and won the tournament, and it was like, all right, time to redo this golf course, like time to change it up for PGA Tour. But that's a little bit like what this year felt like. I mean,
it's like bent greens, it's similar to like what Podrick said about LACC, right? Like bent greens and smooth bent greens, guys are going to go a million under par because they're making every putt, which credit to them. But like it's also cool to see, like, I guess a leaderboard like that, there's all sorts of variety up there, right?
So this is the designated event for the mules, because our boy Zach Blair cashed a $1.78 million check for a T2 finish at this week's Travelers. He needed 271 points, or needs 271 points, playing on the medical exemption, to wrap up his PGA Tour card. I think he got 245, I believe we've heard, for this T2 finish. But an enormous weekend for ZB. Shot 68-62 again to make so much money. The comfort stations at the Tree Farm are going to be absolutely fire after this cash, I would have to imagine.
Man, it was so fun watching Cantlay just hand money back to Zach the last three holes. That 3-putt on 18, the bogey on I think 16. I was like, oh, there's another 300K for Zach. There's another 400K for Zach. Delightful.
Hated it for it. Guys, I got a question. Have we been saying Ches wrong the whole time? Is it Chez? Because that's what Faxon calls it, and I think we might have been saying it wrong the whole. Either he's saying it wrong or we've been saying it wrong the whole time.
How about Chez going to the Cheesecake Factory?
That broke my heart a little bit. I thought he'd be a man of more culture than that. But watching it, the video circulating on Twitter this week, if you didn't see it, of him,
thanks to the trackers.
The tracker was all over it, watching his own round on the replay while sitting at the bar at the Cheesecake Factory on Saturday night. But may have had one too many cheesecakes there, because he did not put up a good final round, unfortunately. 71.
I think one of my favorite tidbits of this week was Andrew Putnam, tied for 45th, shot in the 60s every single day. It's crazy.
It's tough. Is golf broken?
It's just crazy where you got like Keegan, Scotty, Rory, and then you've got like ZB, Ches, and Brian Harmon. Like
Denny McCarthy up there too. Like Lee Harvey Oswald, ran out to a 60-65 on the first 2 days, then finished horribly, shooting 70-67 to fall all the way back to T7 after taking the 36-hole lead. It was tough, but we got it. Before we move on, we got somebody that cashed a big check, I think, is willing to give us a few minutes of his time, if you'll allow it here, Randy. But I think we got him. Looks like he's in transport right now. Mr. ZB, what are you gonna do with your money, man?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're trying to figure it out right now.
You had just an epic preparation for this week. The winged foot, eastward hoe,
Fishers
Fishers trifecta instead of playing practice rounds. That's delightful.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I used to kind of do it a little bit and then kind of got away from it. And I played those 3 days, and I messaged one of my friends and I was like, I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to play good, but I'm really excited to play golf. I kind of stayed away from the circus out there. And, it was fun to go play some cool places, fill the tank up for sure.
What is it about TPC River Highlands that can make it so that like you and Rory are both contending for the same title? Like there's so much variety on that leaderboard, and you're one of the shorter players out there. Like what is it that you think kind of brings everybody together on this one?
I mean, the course is pretty short, especially this week it was playing fairly firm. Like the fairways were running out, before it rained on Friday night and kind of Saturday. It was getting pretty bouncy out there. So, probably taking driver out of some of their hands more often than not. I think, they're probably not hitting driver on 1. They're probably not hitting it on 2. Some of them hit it on 3. They kind of blow it over the corner on 4. They're probably not hitting it on 7 and 9, 10, and 11 and 12. And, they don't hit it a lot. And I was able to just hit driver a lot, and I was hitting it good. So it's a nice little equalizer for sure.
Zach, did you get that hat in the Fishers Island Pro Shop this week? What's that logo up there?
I did. This is I did purchase that.
That's cool, man. What a thrill for you getting to play a couple of a trio of top 100s.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Good weather, good golf courses, good people. Again, got to stay away from the death march out there on Tuesday. It was crazy. We had emailed somebody about going to play Fishers on like Monday night, and we were like, it's pretty late. We emailed the person like really late, and we're like, maybe we'll see an email back tomorrow morning early. Never saw anything, and we're like, well, let's just head out to the golf course. Went out, hit a couple of putts, hit a couple of drives, walked over to the 10th tee. Justin Thomas was over there, pulled out my phone, got the email, and we were like, yep, we got to go. And we took off.
CB, at what point at this event does it hit you? At what point does it happen early in the week, or does it happen at some point today where you're like, oh shit, this is an elevated purse this week? Like, does that affect anything coming down the stretch? You had to know. You had to be thinking a little bit about dollar bills on that back nine. Eagle, birdie on this tear. You had to be thinking about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like going into the week, not really. You're just kind of trying to play good. Obviously, got off to a good start on Thursday and Friday, which was fine. Then, played fine on Saturday, but, fell down the leaderboard a little bit. But got off to a really good start, today, birdie on 1 and 2. And it was kind of like, okay, maybe we can get after it today, and then gave a few back. But definitely, like the eagle on 13, birdie on 14, it was kind of like, all right, it's getting expensive, coming down the stretch. And then on make the birdie on 15 and 16, and it's kind of like, hey, these are like $1 million putts coming in. If we can make one of these, I kind of felt like I saw where I was on the leaderboard, and it got super lucky, obviously, that people kind of screwed up coming in for me. And I knew on 17 and 18, I told my caddy, I was kind of like, yeah, these are like, if we could make one there, it's $1 million putt. And all the points are obviously big and everything like that. And at the same time, I was like, also like, please, like, don't 3 or 4 putt. Don't hit it in the water on 17. Like, don't plug it in the bunker on 18. It was all kind of, it was moving pretty fast, but felt could steer the ship home. So it was wish one more would have fallen, but it was a good week, obviously.
How much of a weight off your shoulders is it knowing like you're on a major medical, kind of fighting back to form, and takes pressure off of your summer and fall quite a bit, I imagine? Yeah,
I mean, it would have been nice to, lock it up. I think solo second would would have done it. But in a position now at least to just go have a couple of solid weeks. Hopefully, go up to Detroit, take care of business. But I think it puts me in a spot where I can at least play out of the 126 through 150 throughout the rest of the year. So I can go kind of play out as many events as I want. But at the same time, I started on like at the start of this season. So I was kind of running off this season's point totals too. So I've kind of got two different ones that are probably going to be fairly similar in terms of totals. But again, it's obviously good when you're kind of entering the week like in the 150s or whatever I was.
Keep it rolling, man.
Yeah,
Like
man.
Detroit should be.
It's freaking awesome. It's exciting seeing your name up there and seeing your little strut out on the golf course, and freaking designated event. It's tied for second is awesome. So we're stoked for you, and congratulations. But we appreciate you calling in from from deep under the Atlantic, and it's a tough connection, my man. So we're gonna let you go, but we greatly appreciate it. Shout out to you and the Russian for a great week, and hope to talk to you soon after a win.
Yeah, thank you guys. See ya.
Shout out to Ches at the Cheesecake Factory too.
Shout out to the Foz. Eternal shout out to the Foz. Oh, man, that's great. That's glad he called in.
You know what's hit me? It's a damn shame Blocky couldn't get a sponsor's invite to the Travelers.
Can Blocky go deep though? Can he take it low? He's kind of one of those guys. He's like Brooks. He likes the tough conditions.
I feel like Blocky needs to play Detroit. Like if Blocky's not playing Rocket Mortgage, I don't know what we're doing up there.
Right? Yeah. What's anything? Blocky would be just a conquering hero at the Rocket Mortgage, I would think.
Couple other shout outs from this week. As I mentioned, Denny McCarthy shot 60, almost hold a shot for 59.
From the grassy knoll.
Ricky bounced off the grassy knoll.
The grassy knoll.
Did not get the help from the grassy knoll that he needed to finish the job. Ricky Fowler shot 60. Guys, I gotta admit, is 59 done? Like there's like no buzz like online at all about like guys threatening to break 60 anymore. Is it over? Like, is it over? Do we care about that number anymore?
It's definitely been
it's over and I don't care. Yeah.
I think Jim Furyk shooting 58 at this event and playing pretty mediocre like the last
6 holes.
The back 9.
The last 6 holes 100 to shoot 58. It's a horrible 58.
It's about the worst he could have shot if you think about it.
He was 11 under through 12 at this golf course.
I mean, what's the par out there this weekend? 66, 67?
I mean, 15's a par 3, right? It's a one-shotter for essentially everyone. 13 is a 530-yard par 5. That's not a par 5 for these guys anymore. Everyone hits it basically in 2 now. What is par anymore? I don't know. Like this tournament, and I don't know if it's maybe just a little bit of fatigue coming off a major, and straight into a designated event. And I don't know if the designated event tag kind of has worn off rather quickly. Like for me personally, like learning that it's an unsustainable model has me way less excited about watching the actual event. Like I kind of thought it was like hopeful that this would maybe be the future of the tour, is like, getting the stars together would be what kind of drives these things and whatnot. And like, it feels like whatever make believe balloon I had floating after the last few successful ones has been popped by this whole, like, oh yeah, we were bleeding money and could never sustain that. It hurt.
They've done nothing to differentiate them either. Like, which is tough. I mean, yeah, it's cool to see like Rory playing Travelers, right? Like Rory played well, or, to see JT and Hideki and Ricky and I do think it's cool and impactful for long time. Like this is the GHO, right? Like long time, solid, positive tournaments on the PGA Tour to get an infusion of big time field. But again, the sponsor's paying out the ass for that,
For sure.
Yeah, it didn't. Solid, to answer your question, didn't move the needle for me hardly at all. I'm really curious if a week like this week, I think you had asked, is golf broken before ZB called in, and I think it's just all a matter of perspective. And I truly don't know if you could sample the greater golf fandom, like, do people like a week like this where it's just ears back, make as many birdies as you can. Is that fun? Because it's not really that enjoyable for me. But I do recognize I could be in the minority. I don't know.
I'd like to hear from the people that are here in the live chat. Like, what did you like that? Right? Do you like with the pin back birdies, approach? I don't necessarily. I did not particularly enjoy watching this week. Didn't feel the need to get to a TV for a lot of it. It helped. I mean, Keegan had Keegan and Ches kind of lifting and separating after Saturday didn't help the situation. I think probably a lot of people are just burned out in general.
It's June 25th.
Yeah,
right?
people are doing other stuff. Like, it's just tough to it's tough once the majors start to pretend like the designated events are a big deal, right? And again, I don't care about the money, I don't care about the points, whatever it is. It's just like, dude, do I feel the need to rush to a TV? I felt that in the run up to the Masters. I really did. I thought those events, like Riv was incredible. I thought Waste Management was great. Bay Hill delivered. Players was kind of down this year, but I just felt like it worked a lot. And man, I don't know. I kind of threw some stuff at you guys in the chat today of I've recently gotten pretty reinvested in baseball after some time of being driven away from it pretty hard.
Yeah.
Amazing what some winning will do for you.
Well, but it's amazing what changes to the rules have done for what it feels like to watch a game now. Like, the pitch clock is legitimately fantastic. Like, I can sit through a game. I don't feel like I'm wasting my time watching dudes step off and watching minutes in between pitches. It was really hard to justify watching baseball when it was going to take that long. And the style of play had changed a lot, and the shift was kind of ruining things. And all this stuff that non-technology related stuff that really affected the way baseball was played and made it a worse product got changed this year. They made some, and maybe it took a really long time, but through some rule changes, the excitement of a ball in play is back in baseball. And I equate that to the ball being on the ground, or where the parts that make golf interesting have been eviscerated by technology,
or the ball curving.
Yeah. So if you don't want to hear the technology debate, I'll take that part out for now.
Let's fix something, right?
And just say, let's assume it's all human progress that has led to these advances in how golf is played. Let's assume the TrackMan and all of the data related stuff, all the analytics, all the science behind how to hit it farther, all the gym stuff, all of that has led to distance gains. And I think technology has had a tremendous impact on that as well. But put all that aside for a second to say, I don't care anymore if it is about the equipment. Something needs to change. If the ball is going to go that far, even if it's human progress, it needs to change for the product to be interesting. And the baseball product has completely changed, and golf is heading the wrong direction and has been for 20 years. And there's no sign of any of it. I mean, I guess there's a sign now that a proposed model local rule, but PGA Tour is basically middle fingering that. And it dawned on me this week, it's if anyone that could benefit more from a model local rule, it's the PGA Tour more than the majors. They go to more places. They have more places like River Highlands that are 6,800 yards and 7,200 yards that don't have the options to go back. And I don't know. It just kind of clicked for me this week of being reinvigorated, a sport that I really used to love watching and faded from for a lot of reasons, is kind of back thanks to some rule changes that have made it way more tolerable. And I don't know. It's taken me a long time to make that comp to golf. But Randy, I'm curious your reaction to that.
Yeah, I think it's valid. I think hand in hand with that is the rule changes in baseball, as is being evidenced by our beloved Cincinnati Reds. It shows off the talent and skill of the players a lot better than what was happening for the last decade plus in baseball. And I think the comments, I think the majority of people are kind of yeah, this week doesn't do much for me at all. I realize this is a small sample size, but just for me personally, watching PGA Tour golf week to week, not taking out the majors, it's just I don't know who is truly good at what. I feel like golf has narrowed the variance of skill, and is everybody when everybody's a good driver, nobody's a good driver, and that's just very boring, I guess, to watch. It's not enticing, it's not enthralling. And so I think that's where, for me, golf finds itself a little bit. I don't think the product does as good a job as it should highlighting and showcasing the absolute skill of its players, and then the pace of play, the time of it. I think that's a real consideration as well. I would be all for trying some type of shot clock or some type of mechanism in which to speed up play and make guys make decisions faster or make shots under more uncertainty. Like if the wind's up, when we're talking PGA Tour golf, I just think it's a little bit needed week to week to hold my attention.
I think face collapse. Too, right?
Yeah.
Peter Costas' suggestion.
Get limited swings with the driver, and you gotta put that into your models. You gotta put that in. It's just like the margins are so thin, right? And it just feels like like a week like this just devolves into a putting contest, right? And whoever makes the most 15 to 20 footers has a shot to win, and everything else gets kind of squeezed out in that equation.
I mean, again, we've gotten to the part of pro golf where the companies are no longer telling us like, oh, the distance gains year to year are not happening anymore, right? It's becoming harder and harder to convince people on that. Yet it's become a self-selecting cycle of like it now, when there was 10 long drivers in 2012, now there was 20 in 2018, and now there's 40 or whatever you want to call, whatever the cutoff is. But like it has grown to the average ball speed on the PGA Tour in 2011 was 166.81. And this year on the PGA Tour, it's the highest it's ever been, shockingly, 173.04. That's a massive leap. That is an enormous, enormous leap just in ball speed in the last 12 years. When post Pro V1, post 460cc drivers, like it is going to become a bomber's game more and more and more in the future, even with no more technology changes. And like the end result is, if you didn't like what you saw this week, and you're anti-rollback, like I don't know how you net out there at this point. I really don't. They go hand in hand.
Do you like? I know baseball's used the minors to test stuff out. Do you do that with Mackenzie Tour or Korn Ferry Tour or Latino America?
They should.
Really hard. That's really hard. That's really hard to be like, you guys play a different equipment than we'll play that you're going to be judged on when you make it to the big leagues. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Baseball, the comps are not perfect, right? Like baseball is played with one ball and it's the same game at each level. And like the product is watching that one ball.
The ball's different this year in AA. They have a much tackier ball. Like the equipment is not uniform throughout the minor leagues of baseball.
But what it's worth acknowledging, like the situation's very different when it comes to golf, right? Like there's different golf ball offerings, and the stakeholders have a say here. But whether or not we want that to rule out is ignoring the obvious that they have.
If I were the PGA Tour, though, I would look at what is it? The Canadian Tour? Is that the Mackenzie? Are they the same thing?
Mackenzie Tour and Latino America are like the same thing now.
Now they're PGA Tour Americas, I think it is. Now. Yeah,
that's the type of tour I would absolutely identify to try some of this stuff out. And it's like guys might complain, and I think my response to them would be tough shit. Like you want to play on the PGA Tour, play better, but for the overall sake of the game, we need to test some of this stuff, because otherwise it's always just going to be theoretical.
Yeah, I mean college baseball, they use aluminum bats, right? They use metal bats. Like you got that stuff going.
I guess I'm already defeated by the fact that like the tour doesn't even want this rollback, right? Like
no,
there's
I don't
no
think
way
the
they
tour
can
ever will. But
well, that's the funny thing about the tour is like the tour wants to talk product. All that means is like packaging and money, right? The actual actual on-course product, the tour doesn't give a fuck about having that conversation.
Everything's
they have guys fleeing for a rival league. The ratings, you can't make a ratings argument that week to week PGA Tour golf is like excellent. I don't know what you can really point to be like this sport is super healthy, which all baseball went through, right? Baseball resisted this for a pretty decent amount of time, but you had fans saying, guys, this is broken, this isn't fun, this isn't good. And slowly, to their credit, baseball starts testing some of this stuff. And lo and behold, what they find through testing, they implement some of the things that they think are going to be positive rule changes. And now here we are with a product that literally by and large, everybody I've talked to, like, baseball's so much better. Baseball's so much better. And
we need to get the Schlong and Cameron Young to bring Manfred to the table, deliver the commish.
And I think if golf just refuses to even do some of that stuff, I think it just goes back to some of this myopic, like it's what we've seen through the whole live stuff. Like they just refuse to get out in front of stuff. They are so reactionary.
No vision, no planning for the future. It's just everything is just meeting short-term goals, and they're just in a web of shit now. And that's not even talking about all the other stuff going on that yeah. Anyways, move on a little bit. TC, I'll let you cook a little bit here as we acknowledge a few performances down the leaderboard here.
Scotty Scheffler, number 2 overall in ball striking this week?
Yeah, he was off a little bit this week with the ball striking.
Yeah, what's going on there?
I don't know. Will he make it to Rome is the question. I think. I don't think his spot is safe because he fell all the way to 6th in strokes gained approach this week and 15th off the tee. So he putted pretty neutral this week, 42nd in putting, close to neutral, but of course another top 5 finish for Scotty Scheffler. The thing Porter's been tracking, Scheffler's lost to 63 golfers total in tournaments so far this year. And he may not lose to 100 golfers total in golf tournaments this year.
That's insane.
It's without putting well.
That's a recipe for madness, though, too.
It really is.
That's a great call.
Minwoo Lee, T9, just wanted to shout that out. JT, signs of life there, 62 in the 3rd round for him.
It's signs that maybe it's not a health issue, which I don't know what to make of last week then. I don't know. I think we as public and media and fans can tend to overreact when scores are that bad to say like it's irreversibly broken. JT didn't seem overly heartbroken by it all or overly flustered. And I don't know. I go back to Horschel's interview he did after shooting 84, just being like, dude, I'm not that far off. Like, I'm really not. I know that may not seem like it, but he's reached back and found something pretty quickly. I don't know if it says something to the setup, and does it identify the best play, and would he have gotten kind of ejected more on a tougher setup? I don't know the answer to that, but he moves up to 66th in the FedEx Cup, which is kind of crazy to say at this point in the season. But
Medium Dick Rick, T13, shot 60 in the 3rd round. I think that's news to me. I wasn't aware that he shot 60.
I've alerted you guys yesterday because he was at a chip for 59 and no one was talking about it. I was like, man, this really might be dead.
I want to shout out Carson Young, T15, continues to play good golf. Who else? Eric Cole continuing to shot 73 on Saturday, but otherwise 64, 65, 65 the other 3 days. Eric Cole taking over for who did I say was the hottest golfer? Or one of the hottest golfers in the world.
Is it Ryan Gerard? Is that what it was?
Ryan Gerard. Yeah, Eric Cole is now one of the hottest golfers in the world anywhere. So Chesson Hadley moves up to 154th. Hopefully he felt recognized and rewarded for his loyalty with this purse. Austin Eckroat played well, T24. Another guy at T24, Ludwig Aberg. Ludwig. Listen, T24, I think we saw his floor this week, guys. He bogeyed he had a tough start to the week. Shot 65 on Friday and Saturday. He didn't I don't know. It was strange. He didn't really hit his irons all that well. He lost almost 3.5 shots to the field approaching the green. He was 3rd in strokes gained off the tee, 4th in strokes gained around the green. Solly, I know you put stock in both of those numbers. Putted pretty well. But just, overall, I think Ludwig, he's figured out how to chip. I'm told that he's shallowed out his attack on his chips. Again, we're bummed that we didn't get the top 10. We're bummed that we didn't get the win this week. I think the win's coming. I wouldn't be shocked to see it next week in Detroit if he's in the field. But the floor is so high, guys.
Any comment on the white belt?
He's Swedish.
Okay.
That's going to happen from time to time.
Okay.
For the Swedes. I thought, and we're not even mentioning here, a bunch of people sent me videos of him playing with Sam Bennett Thursday, Friday. Bennett waggled like 14 times in a row. I mean, just really depraved shit.
They put the cooler on him.
That was pretty gutless from the tour. I think pairing those two together.
Can we call a truce on Ludwig? I thought nothing but the nicest things to say about him ever, and I'm getting bullied in our Slack for every good shot that he hits, and I just would like to declare my support for Ludwig and his career. I'm very excited about him. I want to be excited about him. You are making me root against him, and I want to call off whatever beef we have over Ludwig, and I want to call for a truce here.
Do you apologize for calling him old?
I don't. He's really old. I don't apologize at all.
Do you apologize for fluffing Tom Kim?
Absolutely not.
And
I don't know what Tom Kim has to do with this.
We might be at an impasse then.
I don't know what he has to do with this.
Like the Wagner Group. And
Ludwig is an incredible
Duty.
talent. I'm excited that I like the path to the PGA Tour through PGA Tour U. I like the immediate, I agree with you that this wasn't even a special week for him, and he finishes T24. And I want to be able to enjoy it. And I don't want you don't want that either. You don't want to deprive me of the joy of rooting for Ludwig. So I just will ask that we get to that right here, right now.
It's us against the world, baby. No, truce, Solly.
Thank
truce.
you.
That's big.
That's
thank you.
You're a gentleman.
Thank you.
Speaking of PGA Tour U, Ricky Castillo, T11 again this week, just backed up his win from last week. He's playing quite well on the Korn Ferry Tour. Anything else on the leaderboard for
Rory? Go ahead, Randy.
Oh, this isn't you make your point first, and then I'll
say Rory made an ace. I feel like that's worth noting. His first ace on the PGA Tour. He finished in a tie for 7, hit a 380-something yard drive off the 18th hole today on a non-firm golf course. So that was cool as well. But it's almost makes me upset to see Rory play well the week after a major. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah. Oh no, Code Man, bring that leaderboard back up for me if you can. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here. And just pick a guy, maybe Kevin Tway. Just to drive home something that we talked about Friday night. Kevin Tway, yeah. Gaines, is he the swole monkey or whatever? The
Gaines with a Z, yeah.
Yeah, Gaines. And then click on stats. For the people listening on the podcast, this is just the PGA Tour site. It's incredible. I can go in on any player. I can click on their stats, and I can see their strokes gain performance for every round this week. This is a designated event, but I could do this for any event throughout the year on the PGA Tour. And just to kind of loop back to what we're talking about with the women's game, their major championship this week, there's no stats package like this for fans. KPMG, again, to their credit, is trying. They've instituted kind of their performance insights portal, which gets updated after the week. But to get granular stats on the women's game is impossible. But I do want to shout out at the U.S. Women's Open at Pebble. For the first time, they're going to have shot link all across the course on every player. So we will get stats packages like this. But when we talk about the disparities between the two tours and just what are the little things that make the men's game a lot more approachable, interesting to talk about, think about, discuss, et cetera, it's just stuff like this. So thank you, Cody.
Randy,
that's all I have. I cede my time.
Thank you, Chef.
You should thank the volunteers as well.
Who are the ones out there doing it?
Oh, we got to shout out the volunteer that picked up Leona Maguire's tee mark. During the rain delay, she marked her ball with a tee, and volunteer just said, "Oh, I'll pick these up," and picked up, and she didn't know where to put her ball back.
And we got to shout out fake Seth Waugh as well.
Well, fake Seth Waugh, the rules official, was on the first tee today as well. So,
any concerns about the pro guys?
Not yet.
No.
Don't you think he's exhausted?
Yes, he's like a, has young kid at home.
Father.
Too. Like I'm not concerned. We're monitoring, but we're not concerned yet.
Of course.
Right.
Morikawa missed the cut. John Rahm missed the cut this week as well. I think this was a tough one after all the shit that's gone on in the last month, coming off the West Coast U.S. Open, flying to this for a designated event. I think any weak performances this week, I think were understandable. I think, if you will.
Totally. There were like some really high scores too.
Yeah.
This was the 13th designated event of the year. This is the final designated event of the regular season. How do we think that they've been so far?
It's like pretty uninspired.
Hand up, I literally would have said, Randy, how many designated events have been played thus far? I've been like, I don't know, 6.
Well, I think you're counting majors in the players, right?
I am. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So
okay.
17
Yeah.
total.
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, the PGA Tour year is almost. We're almost done with golf.
I think they're overall a positive. I think it's still better than what was before, right? I still just have a harder time like getting up for it, knowing like, hey, this was never sustainable. This is like it. I don't. It's hard to like see them just throw everything up in the air and whatever the hell is going on with the Saudis, which I don't think any of us really know what's going on. Like everything just feels like how do I say it? Like they're just running in place until we find out what the future of golf looks like. I've lost enthusiasm for this season, which has been a really good season, a really good Scotty Rahm like duel. Like I actually for once like think I kind of care about who wins the title at the end of the year. I don't even want to say wins the FedEx Cup because I don't actually care about that, but I want to know who emerges as the champion between those two by the end of the year. And I feel like I've gotten just cold water thrown on it by the last several weeks. I don't know if you guys feel that at all.
I feel that too. I think it's really tough to do these designated events the week after a major.
Yeah.
Like that's, Heritage felt flat. And I love it. I like that they're going to some courses that are, there's a little bit of variety there. And they're not just these massive ballparks that they usually have, the WGCs on or playoff events on and all that. Like there's some quirk and stuff there. I like that, but man, it's really tough to like, all right, this event's important this week because you're telling me it's important this week. And there's this arbitrary purse and all that. And everybody's just kind of got a hangover from the week prior.
Yeah. Randy?
That's where I am. I think designated events work in the winter, the West Coast swing, the lead up to the majors, and put them later in the fall. But it just to me, they don't really work as much around the major championships because the majors just take up so much oxygen and attention. I think for me, I'd look to how to capitalize a little bit on the fall season, but that like the January through March should be like sweepstakes time.
Yeah, like the tour owns that and kind of
Which
try to abdicate a little bit in the summer.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Cody, but this kind of dawned on me relatively recently. I'm like, why do I feel like the Memorial is losing some steam? And the more I think about it, the move made in 2019 to move the PGA to May and move the players back up to March, like that stretch from Masters to US Open, I feel like was way better on the PGA Tour than it is now, right? And that now the majors are so way tighter, and ending in July, it seems like it's really hard to get up for anything in between those, right? When there actually was a little room to run between the Masters and the US Open, and then a tight run between, the summer months and kind of going later into the summer. I don't know. It's harder to get up for regular events in the new major layout. I've found it took me a while to kind of realize that, but I see the engagement on our social media die down on these events as they go on. And I'm really starting to feel that in recent weeks. Cody, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, completely agree. I think that moving that stuff around is not only hampered overall fan enjoyment, but I think some of these tournaments themselves, like the Memorial was the Memorial because it was like that big May event, and then if we look at things, how it's been the last 3 years, but even this year, if we look at the calendar, so they're telling us from the Masters that we need to get hyped for RBC Heritage, we need to get hyped for Wells Fargo, then we get to the Memorial, and then Memorial turnaround is a week off, and then we go into US Open and now Travelers. Like, it's just a lot that you're telling fans, like, this is really important. And I don't know, like, I don't think that's worked. I think the last, like, elevated event that I think has stuck out in my mind really is, like, the Genesis. And I think that would probably fit into whatever the legacy events that they're going to move forward calling them anyway. Like, API didn't feel any different to me. I can't even really remember, like, the most fun API I remember is like Bryson hitting like big balls. I outside of the fact that I know that like Kurt Kitayama came out of nowhere and won it this year, I don't remember anything else about it.
I feel like
it's weird. I just don't think it's like, I don't think it's worked.
They started petering off for me at Wells Fargo. That was kind of where it was like,
yeah, that's post Masters, right? Like everything leading up to the Masters, I do feel like it worked. The ratings were up. it was just like it's a simple formula, right? Like you're more likely to get a bigger name winner if you have more bigger names in there. And we got a lot of them. Kitayama was kind of a good, I don't know, it was a good surprise one in terms of like, dude, I mean, we don't want to see Max Verstappen win every week, like what's happening in Formula One right now. Like you want to have a little bit of variety. You want to at least have the hope that the mules can, and I'd say he's above a mule, but you want to have some hope that the mules can do something. But yeah, as the majors hit, it's way harder to get hyped about the PGA Tour, and it's Detroit week, and it's going to be a tough scene probably this week. I would have to imagine.
Did you guys see the Eamon Lynch article on column on Patrick Cantlay on P?
I did.
Yeah.
You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just a great, like, first two graphs, I was kind of like it was kind of an Alonzo Mourning gif. They were like, first two graphs, it's kind of, it's tough to feign any sort of pity or.
Can you set us up? What's going on here?
Jay Monahan. So Eamon basically lays it out, and he's like, yeah, like Monahan, like why would he rush back to this job when you've got people like Patrick Cantlay basically trying to stage a coup and trying to, undo this deal or undo other deals, but not because of any moral or ethical, pushback on it. It's simply because Patrick Cantlay thinks that he's worth tens of millions of dollars, and people are lining up to watch him in golf tournaments. And I mean, Eamon had some absolute fucking zingers in there at Patrick. It was great. Like just an artless, shit on his business acumen because he's like, yeah, like thinks he could be a partner at Goldman because he's got Goldman on his hat kind of thing. Or, so yeah, basically Eamon was just saying how broken this model is, that like a rational market isn't valuing, going back to what we were talking about on the designated events, a rational market isn't valuing these guys as they're valuing themselves. And I think Cantlay is the poster child for that.
It probably will forever change the path of professional golf. Like having somebody come in and like markets work in a very efficient way. Like forever, the PGA Tour was about how much money you brought in and how that got distributed to the players. And then all of a sudden it's totally flipped on its head by something that doesn't make any actual sense from a dollars and cents standpoint. And it has me like fearful of like truly like the whole structure of pro golf could fall apart in the next couple months, years. And it's feeling more and more likely that's going to happen than it is like this deal going through to me at this point.
Yeah. And it's basically like he said, multiple sources say Cantlay has romance lived for some time, including while being a sitting member of the tour's policy board, all while maintaining a gymnast balance as a fence sitter in public. Basically saying that Cantlay wanted to, there is a market out there right now because there's two competing parties for his services, and he's trying to extract the most value as he can out of the PGA Tour. And if Liv goes away, doesn't have that. But it's just, I mean, Patrick Cantlay to me, like he represents everything that is wrong with sports in the 21st century. Just an absolute chud.
No sympathy from me for Patrick. Sean, we had gone back a little bit. I think the thing about the Eamon piece that just caught me a little off guard or kind of scratching my head was, one, it seemed pretty sympathetic to Jay, which, listen, Jay is a human. I hope he's dealing with whatever happened and, tending to his own health. But Jay is like a leader and a CEO of the PGA Tour. Like, I didn't think it necessarily deserved any sympathy that way. And then I thought he was kind of just brushing aside the fact that like nobody knows anything about what this deal actually is. And so I could never be upset at a player for, I don't know, like coup is strong words, but if I don't know what's in this deal and the tour hasn't like worked with me at all, and I don't blame guys for being suspicious or seeking outside counsel, which I thought Eamon just kind of brushed aside a little too conveniently for my taste.
And I was kind of like hoping for, hey, here is the coup that is being discussed here. Like, it kind of glances past that. I don't feel like that was really reported this week. Yeah. Like Patrick Cantlay is staging a coup of some kind, and maybe I missed that. honestly, I'm hesitant, especially hesitant to do this part of the show live, and I'm hesitant to like comment on anything this week and in recent weeks, because I feel like all of us, and players included, I don't mean to say us as in players, but like all of us sitting here plus the players don't know what the fuck is going on, or there's something going on that has been kept very secret, right? Like we're trying to dig in on a bunch of different things, not really gaining much traction, but I have a ton of outstanding questions that are so high level that it's really hard to dig into any serious details. Like, how does this get approved by the players? When does that happen? Like something happened with the board vote that was supposed to happen on the 27th of June. Multiple sources had mentioned that to us. That got quietly changed, I would imagine, because there's just no details to vote on at this point. I imagine Jay's health may have changed some of that, but how does this get past DOJ? Jay and or someone from the PGA Tour will be going to Congress on July 11th for an open hearing with
Stolen
Yasser
Valor, Richard Blumenthal.
on this. Richard Blumenthal has summoned them for that. What is that spectacle going to look like? What is that? There's a whole level of geopolitics of somebody's going to have to greenlight this at the government level for a reason that I can't fully explain yet, for this to go through from an antitrust perspective. And then there's a great article in the Washington Post this week about all of the other leagues, how they have gone away from their nonprofits and how they've gone into, how they've gotten antitrust exemptions and things like that. And it doesn't feel pending or imminent on the PGA Tour side. And I don't understand enough about that world to present any kind of story to the audience on that. It's just fucking confusing.
But also, on another note, like the lawsuits just evaporated. They went away.
Yeah.
Now that happened, right? So the lawsuits are dropped without prejudice. It feels like we're at an entirely different negotiating table now. And without prejudice means they can't, as I understand it, they can't get picked back up. Even if this deal doesn't go through, Liv can't now sue the PGA Tour, which like doesn't, I can't even tell who that benefits. Like, I don't have the game theory here to
Like
comment on
me
this.
to believe that there's got to be some sort of breakup fee in there, or because otherwise it's like, yeah, like why? I mean, I guess the Saudis got what they wanted with the, Jay and Yasser sitting on CNBC next to one another, and that's the tacit approval that they wanted, just from a visibility perspective. But at some point, it's like you look at that and then you kind of play it out, and if this looks as unlikely to follow through on so many different levels, then you kind of can't blame the tour for doing the job, like doing the deal if it got rid of the pending litigation and there's seemingly not that much downside risk.
I said without prejudice. It's with prejudice, which means it can't be picked up. Apologies. But but that's where I'm like, is the tour capable of playing chess? And
no, that's
every inkling I had says no.
Maybe Hurley and Don are, but I don't know. I just like the lack of info forthcoming on anything, whether it's Jay or the timeline for this stuff or the internal communications of the tour. Like they're leaving their tour employees dangling in the wind. They have no idea what's going on.
Which again, like smartest level that it possibly could be would be, again, I'm just left to speculate on all of this stuff, would be like, hey guys, we'll take barrel fire for now. We know it's not going to go through, but we'll be in a more advantageous situation when it doesn't go through. And I'm fine to take the barrel fire in the meantime. And we can't say that part out loud to you guys, but that's best case scenario, I think, for them at this point. But again, then, so what happened? It sounds like this is going to take a while, no matter what, right? So when all this stuff came out, I think I don't think we emphasized it enough yet. I think we were one of the leaders in saying hey, we're early in this. This is not a done deal. I think a lot of people thought it was a done deal when they went out on CNBC and said, we're merging operations here. And it sounded like it was done. That was what the big shock to all of us was how do you even get it through player approval when they don't know about it, all this stuff. But if it's going to take a while, that means it sounds like Liv is going to continue into 2024, which I did not think that on June 6th. It sounded like Liv was over, because I think I had assumed this thing was going to be fast-tracked a lot faster than it will be.
Absolutely. And that's what does Kat think?
How have we not heard a word from Tiger on any? I mean, I guess, again, if you don't know any details, what's the benefit in speaking out on it?
Well, they're I don't know. At some point, is Tiger just rolling in his eyes at these guys like a Cantlay, or they're hey, I left you this shit. You've said this before, so I left you this, and This is what you did with it.
There's a great, and I'm sorry he got canceled, and Louis C.K. bit about like God coming back to the world after seeing like what we've done with it. And it's like, what the fuck did you guys do with this place, huh? Like, what do you? I want, like, I needed oil. Like, what the fuck do you need oil for? Like, I gave you food in the ground. What do you need? And I listened back to that and thinking of it as Tiger, like what he left the PGA Tour guys with, and it made me laugh really, really hard.
And it's like, yeah, even from like a governmental perspective, Congress, and then also like the DOJ, like there's still like a majors investigation out there as well. Like there's all sorts of collusion and wage fixing there. Like there's like, it's not just the tour, right? Like the entirety of golf is kind of potentially getting upended here.
Well, it feels to me a bit like, I don't know, I was a little too young for this, but I remember the 1994 strike in baseball of like, you guys played it really fast and loose with the trust of the fans here. Like you bitched and you fought over the money side of this, and you middle fingered all the people that drive the value of this. It's a little bit how I feel as a golf fan of like, dude, it is a huge turnoff to watch all of this play out over the last couple of years, and has greatly messed with what I love about golf and what I would think a lot of people love about golf. Like it's a little bit interesting to like follow the ups and downs of this from week to week, but we all are here because we like the sport and we like the game and we like the competition at the highest level. And they are really flirting / maybe have ruined people's trust in this competitive level of this sport.
That's where, back to Eamon's thing, his last paragraph, it said, it's unclear whether Monahan will return to the PGA Tour. It would be understandable if he opted out, because what is the appeal of a job that's been reduced to scavenging in order to meet the grotesquely inflated price tags his players put on their own charisma, a value that a rational market has shown no sign of supporting. Like that feels pretty bleak, right?
What are the
That's
chances?
sick.
Go ahead, Rennie.
No, I like that. Yeah. There were bits and pieces of his article I love. Had he titled it "Patrick Reed is a chode and here's why," like
Patrick Cantlay. we can't. No, allegedly.
Oh shit!
No.
Oh shit!
No.
Oh shit!
No.
Oh, we're going
Redacted.
bankrupt. Yeah.
Redacted.
Lady J, I am
That's not
sorry.
official.
Lady J, I am sorry. Patrick Cantlay. Yeah, 2 thumbs up. Like great article. We'll gladly read like why he's a chode. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't have a whole lot more to add, just because I think it just comes back to we don't know so much. So it's just hard to it's hard.
Hard to comment.
I hate to say this, but I kind of read it and view it as like it's almost the end of June, and I have to get something written for this month, and I don't really know what's going on. And we know this Cantley thing's been like the worst, like hidden secret forever. I can write about that and try to do a little bit of like dancing around in support of the tour and Jay, and put this article out there. Like,
which I'm all about.
There's no depth there. Like this is just this is everything that people have been saying for months.
I think it's extremely valuable to get the Cantlay stuff out there.
True, but I mean, still, there's not a lot of depth there. There's no depth there.
Do you think it's weird the lack of reporting around the Monahan situation? Like, I do want to recognize I'm sensitive people's health. Like, I understand that, but his job and his stature, and in light of the news that was just released at the beginning of the month, it does strike me a little strange that there's not more reporting around like what is going on.
Yeah, what is going on? What does the outlook look like?
Yeah.
And to get
maybe I'll counter that and say, like, got it. Like we take the PGA Tour very, very seriously. This is our job. Like we follow it very religiously. But I mean, the PGA Tour did everything that they were supposed to do. They immediately named 2 people who are going to take over in his stead while he's recovering. It's obviously he has all the personal reasons in the world not to put more information out there. And I would say it's more on the tour to communicate what a somewhat reintegration or come out plan is, because there's also a lot of things that are out there that's like, he's out, he's not out, when's he coming back, like what is it? And when we see this from the player's point of view of what the fuck is actually going on, like you would think there will be something, but I also don't know like would you rush some sort of speculation? And then what happens if he misses that day? What if he's not ready to come back? We don't even know what the fuck happened.
Then if he's not ready to come back, then like you need a leader. Like that's like the
Yeah.
reality of the situation is like you need a leader to.
I
and
think they
I'm not.
named
I don't
that
think he
leader.
was
It
the
just
right
kinda-
guy anyway to really to begin with. But like at some point you can't. It's like when Oscar Munoz from my hitters at United Airlines, he had a heart attack and he couldn't come back, and it was like, hey man, like you got to step aside here. Like we need someone to lead this organization.
I will say it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It seems
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
like-
a long time, but it's
We're
2
relying
weeks.
upon the tour to like be like communicate something effectively. Like that's
Yeah. That's
like they're not capable of that. Like I would be more shocked if they communicated anything effectively than just about anything else they could possibly do.
Well, and there's something that stinks right now. Something smells from where I'm sitting. Like we
Something's rotten in Denmark.
well, again, we like I know people hate this part, but like we hear a lot of things about shit going on. Players talk, like we generally have a sense of like rumblings that are going on, and it's kind of hard to get information right now. Like I don't have a clear picture from a lot of people of like exactly what's going on, and I can't piece the puzzles together, the pieces together myself as to what it is, like where the players stand on this. They're all being suspiciously quiet in public. And I know they've had a lot of private meetings talking about this stuff, and we've not gotten really the downloads from those meetings. And that's a rarity, right? And like media, gag orders or whatever internal stuff you want to put in to say like, hey, let's not talk to the press about that. That happens, but everything that's gone down since like June 6th has been weirdly quiet. And it's been hard for us to make sense of it. A lot of like our representations on this show, even if not sourced, are like filtered through multiple sources that are giving us information that we feel comfortable representing through our opinions and things like that. And that is, for me, that's dried up a lot over the last several weeks, and it's really weird. Maybe because no one else knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait for the congressional hearing. I hope it's lit. I hope it's I don't know. I hope we learn stuff from it. Cody, to your point, I think under any other circumstances, like I don't feel like I would need to know more about Jay or even want to know more about Jay. But I think given that this was like a sudden medical condition tied to likely, this hugely important piece of news and a potential agreement, I just think it rises to a level of like, at the very least, we need better communication from the tour.
Randy, can I ask you about you're excited for July 11th, the hearing? What are you rooting for out of this? Like, what do you? What's a good result? I don't know the answer myself. Like, I
don't either. I don't either.
Like, are we rooting for like the government just be like wave them on through? Like, come on down, Saudi. Like, take the money, go run the league, and get off and run. Or are we rooting for everything to blow up and like see what's left of the scraps when it's all over?
I hate to say it, I'm kind of rooting for stuff to blow up. I
What
kind
does
of
that
am.
world look like?
Like at some
I don't
point, should
know.
we just start over? Right? Yeah.
Like maybe we need a big reset.
You guys have a lot more faith in the United States government than I do, because keeping Saudi happy for everything in the overall GDP and world global politics is a hell of a lot more important to the United States of America than a PGA Tour weekly event. I mean, there's massive deals between the price of oil right now and everything else. Like, they want to keep Saudi Arabia happy. And there's a reason why all of this lined up the way that it did. And if you want to tie other people who are running for president and decisions on when his arraignment and everything else was, like, this is all part of a bigger package to keep them happy and to ensure that they are the number one ally for the United States of America in the overall Gulf region.
So
Guys, what about
golf,
China?
golf,
Gulf,
golf for golf.
the Arab Gulf.
So if we, if the government kind of rolls over and is green lighted, and I at least want a little comeuppance for, like, it just rubs me the wrong way how this all went down, I guess. I don't know. I think that's what I'm left with, is just, it doesn't quite make sense to me yet. And so I guess
For sure.
maybe that's what I'm after. If the congressional hearings can help with, like, just help it make sense to me.
Which like, because I think at one point I got, I don't know, maybe still at this point, like I don't care if the PGA Tour is a monopoly. Like I don't care if they have antitrust violations, if it means that we have a good, strong, competitive golf world, right? And like, do I think it's like they're the best and most? I think they're the best and most capable of anyone that exists currently to present that, right? Am I still a huge supporter of the PGL idea and the idea of team golf and like all the best players in the world being on teams and something? I dream of a world better than the PGA Tour. I do, but I don't think like that. That's like coming close. I don't think that's the next thing on the docket if the PGA Tour falls apart. I think it's like fighting for scraps at that point. I don't know if people start their own tours. I do not know what happens if this thing all falls apart.
I don't either.
At some point, can we just get some fucking adults in the room?
Right.
Like,
I think that's what Jimmy Dunn's supposed to be, right? Like, I think that's the whole. I mean, he's not been there very long, and he comes in to say, like, "All right, I'm doing this deal now, guys. Like, this is my
but
thing.
he's
You guys
still
run
like,
capable
I
stuff."
think
a
that's-
board member. He's not like the
Yeah.
dude running the show. He's not the CEO. He's not the commissioner. He's not the deputy commissioner.
Does
Like,
he become that?
I don't think he would have any desire to do that. Like Jimmy just wants to play golf and probably be the hero on this stuff, right? He wants to save the day, but he doesn't want to fly around and beg Comcast and Waste Management for more money, you know?
Come on, baby.
Commissioner
You got
job
golf to
pays
play.
really well, but it doesn't look like that fun of a job. I will say that. That's for sure. But
Big, I hate to say it because I think that date is going to be like an extreme letdown because what I think we're going to learn is that basically it went down the same, like the exact same way that we've heard it so far. Like, oh yeah, Mr. Jimmy Dunn sent a WhatsApp message and then we flew and had lunch a couple times and played golf and he closed the deal because he closes the deal. He's like the expert negotiator, right? And then Ed came in and was like, okay, well, this is like structurally what we need to put together because that's what they're really fucking good at.
do you think we maybe learn a little bit about this, whatever the hell this new venture is on July 11th? Maybe like that's my hope. Like explain to me what the hell this thing is going to mean. How does the tour plan to keep its nonprofit status? And how do you not owe the back taxes from all the blah, blah, blah year?
That's a good fucking question.
That's so many questions. I wish I had answers for the audience, but I'm just dumping this out here of like how confused we are. Randy?
The last thing I'll add, and we can get out of here because this is long, but in a vacuum, do I care about if the PGA Tour is a monopoly? Like if we're just speaking to like pro golf, it probably doesn't upset me more. But I think I do care in a wider sense about, listen, if this administration is taking a stronger stance against monopolies and they have, then I do think like if the PGA Tour deal is rotten, then I kind of am like, be consistent. I want the rules applied consistently, which is like totally separate from my enjoyment of golf. But I do think it's like at some point, like the monopoly stuff has to matter a little bit, I think.
I don't know. Again, I'm trying to think of this in terms of other sports, and again, what makes golf different is, there's an ownership group and there's a players union in all the three major sports in the United States, right? And there's not that obviously for a member run organization where the owners, quote unquote owners, are the PGA Tour players, right? So what I worry about is what has happened over the last many, many years is the tour being the only option. And we're kind of stuck watching a stale product that has no incentive to improve in any way because it's not driven by any kind of competition. And we've seen all the things that have changed on the PGA Tour, which we have screamed for many, many years, just with the existence of LIV. And I guess I'm struggling to know where that blame gets put other than like on the players to like take some ownership in the product, which is what I was so encouraged about the designated event model was like, this was the players saying, here's what we want. We're going to show up enthused, excited. We're going to do walk and talks. We're going to entertain you. Like we are here to entertain you. We've heard the criticism and we're going to do it. And maybe golf can't be fixed in that way, right? Maybe that flame has burned out this quickly. But at least it felt like for a little while there, that golf was trending a little bit in the right way, very slow progress, but I don't know. I'm long-winded now at this point. So can I get 2 shouts before we go, or 1 shout out and then one?
Yeah, please.
Shout out to Podrick Harrington, one for delivering a very memorable podcast appearance this past week. Got a lot of great feedback from a lot of people on that. Please go listen to that if you have not. Also, the podcast bump is alive and well because he won on the Champs Tour this past week. Want to give a shout out. Uncle Yost, my Uncle Yost Lauten lost a tough one in Germany this week. Thurston Lawrence edged him out, but Uncle Yost is delivering, and we do appreciate that from him. But
that was a short putt he missed.
Short putt he missed on the 71st hole, and then par 5, 18th hole he did not birdie, and he ended up losing by 1, unfortunately. And long rumored and had since been, I think we've even talked about this, but Riviera officially announced as the venue for the 2031 U.S. Open.
God, those LA golf fans, man, give them a
back.
Did you guys see that feature or like that piece on like hospitality and stuff for Pinehurst for next year? I tweeted that out.
Yeah, shout out to the Pilot, local newspaper. I appreciate that, TC, supporting the local
I'm a friend
journalists out there.
I'm a friend of journalists everywhere.
Yeah, except for the Pilot, you only get like 3 free views, and then they fucking
hate
you know, good information shouldn't be free. But yeah, it's just concerning. Like, I get that maybe it wasn't the best experience in the last couple of times they've had it at Pinehurst because they had too many people. Like, we can talk about that as well. But when you consistently now are taking away grandstands and adding in like these premium viewing areas and like reducing the amount of juice from our national championship, that's not cool.
Not good.
So the article, just to explain, so people who didn't read it, basically said that for Pinehurst, and we're used to have like super high spectator numbers of Pinehurst, in talking with USGA, they said that they are going to continue for next year the model of having more of these high-end, venues instead of general spectators on. But I don't know if you guys quite remember this or not, but Pinehurst, North Carolina, the middle of June, number 1, it's lightning storms every single afternoon. Number 2, it's like 100 degrees with like 90% humidity. So maybe that is what's best for the fans out there, is having a little bit more, cover everything else like that. But I agree. I don't think it's going to be like as extreme as LACC, of course, was. But Pinehurst, I understand it's like, we like to call it, the cradle of American golf. You need to pack that place in. And the lack of, overall GA is going to be rough.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, like, I get it. Like, it's not the easiest place to watch golf either. All the greens are elevated. And, there's kind of some tough viewing angles there. And I'm not anti-corporate hospitality either. Like nobody's like,
nobody loves hospitality more than
TC here, baby.
Talking about the ultimate C-suite experience.
Yeah. We just got to keep it in proportion, right?
Yeah. Guys, I'm concerned about that. I'm happy that Riv, I think it's going to be an awesome for a U.S. Open venue, but God, we don't need to have these venues out like 40 years. It's a little ridiculous when like I filled in that name there and I looked at it, I was like, what the I can't even think that far ahead. Like, what the hell are we doing?
I mean, Ludwig's going to be like 70.
Yeah. Freddie's fucking kid's going to be running the podcast by the time we get to the end of the list.
I'll save that for another show. I'm beat, guys. It's just worked up about a lot of things as we go into Rocket Mortgage Week, which I'm psyched for.
Is the 313 challenge back this year?
I'm assuming it is, TC. I will keep you posted the more I learn about it. But Code Man, thank you for running the ones and twos, TC. I know you're battling through a migraine today. We appreciate that. Randy, appreciate all the insights you've brought into the men's and the women's game. Shout out to all of our listeners and viewers that tune in live, all the live comments. Shout out to High Noon for sponsoring the show. Of course, shout out to Titleist. Shout out to Roback. Shout out to everybody. We greatly appreciate it. Store.nolayingup.com if you want to shop for any merch offerings we have. If you want to join the nest, nolayingup.com/join. I think that is it. I am going to go rest up a little bit. It is time. It's a lot of golf watching this week. So,
Solly, we're done with live shows for a little bit on the men's side, but we're going to be back for the U.S. Women's Open. We're going to be covering it all week long. Very, very excited to get out to Pebble, check it out, watch the Women's U.S. Open from there.
Greatly look forward to that. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you back here soon. Cheers.
Cheers.